video because I need to hurry up and just quickly get this off my chest. Or at least as quickly as possible. I freaking despise Yuri on Ice. Or, what I really hate is all of the unwanted praise that it gets. Yes, I get it. It's progressive and has a canonly homosexual couple presented in a realistic way that doesn't just objectify gay dudes, as is found in most boys love anime. But let's just be aware that that's not to say it doesn't have some of the same tropes. The portrayal of anxiety and the development of the characters and the coordination of the skating is gorgeous. But to what end? Yuri on Ice was not what I wanted out of an anime that was not even called Shonen Ai, but rather a sports anime. And the huge, glaring flaws that even those who dislike the show can't even be brought to realize. So, here I go, people. I'm apologizing in advance if I lose my cool later on, because I am going to try and explain why this show makes me so mad. Be aware that it's very personal, and worst case scenario, I guess you can just chalk it up to my salty feels of subjective opinion. You still watching? Thanks. I'll try not to make this too painful if you're willing to listen. First, I'll address the Crunchyroll Anime Awards that I'm sure everyone is sick of hearing about by now. Blah blah blah, Crunchyroll is at fault for leaving it up to popular vote and for putting this show in so many darn categories it doesn't even qualify for. Yuri on Ice can have Best Couple for all I care. The other nominees in that category were so lackluster by comparison. We all know that the animation for the skating in most of the middle episodes turned down the quality substantially, and it holds no candle to Mob Psycho 100, which at least kept up the animation, especially in the parts that actually counted, even if the art style was kind of derpy and took some getting used to. History Maker by Dean Fujioka, if that's how you pronounce his name, is an amazing song, but recycling the same skating sequence and changing it colors for before and after the title card is lazy, and it didn't deserve best opening. The ending, well, as far as I'm concerned, it's called YOLO and is a stupid social media feed. I don't find that appealing at all. But other people can probably argue for the better, so I guess I'll leave it up to them. Most heartwarming scene? They could have chosen better even from Yuri on Ice, so screw that category. And Best Boy? Screw you too, Yuri. Koichi is Best Boy. There, I said it, and on the note of outrage, of course, I wholeheartedly agree that Yoshikage Kira was robbed of the best villain. But that is not the focus of this video. I just covered the basics of what is both good and bad about the show. It's pretty great, not top tier in my own personal humble opinion, but nonetheless it can't really be called bad. Well, at least not by other people. The main characters and relationships are realistic, the animation was good, but definitely not trying at points, and the story was a tried and true story of a guy who wanted to make history. How? By ice skating? The show is sure making history, but not because of what it's supposedly about. Once upon a time, I found a list of anime coming out in the fall-winter season of 2016, and among them was something titled Yuri on Ice. Naturally, my first thought was, are they really calling it that? I mean, you'd at least think they'd be subtle about it. And I clicked on the title to see if it's what I, and most of the anime community no doubt, thought it was. To my surprise, it wasn't that at all. I mean, it was men's skating. Wait, you mean like speed skating? Because if it was hockey, it would have said hockey in the description, but wait, no way. It's about figure skating? Like actual guy figure skaters in an anime about an ice sport? What's come over you, Japan? What's the catch? I got really excited. And so I go to tell some of my other friends who watch anime, and even if subtly, they all kind of had the same reaction. Wow, that's totally gay. Most of them didn't say it out loud, but I could tell that's what they were thinking. That's a typical reaction. You see, I come from a family of skaters, mostly hockey players, and we live pretty close to Canada and see quite a bit of snow. The point I'm trying to bring across is that I think I have a better appreciation for skating and ice sports in general than the average person, let alone in the anime community. I already knew it was going to be a struggle to convince people I knew to take this show seriously. It's hard enough to make people see how figure skating, in light of its aesthetic nature and being a mostly female-dominated sport, is just as much of a sport as hockey or speed skating, let alone bring up how, on a technical level, it's so much harder to do. Basically, as it is in many cases of aesthetic versus contact sports, hockey is cool and manly, and figure skating is, quote, totally gay, unquote. It's a true stereotype that actual straight male figure skaters have to live with and try to break down, despite being mocked for their sport of choice. Apparently, it was just way too above and beyond reasonable to think and hope that these athletes could be represented in an anime. Representation seems to be reserved for a different crowd. Again, I'll repeat that the messages about homosexual relationships being more than what is portrayed in common anime and manga rings loud and clear. I mean, someone had to do it, but in this very instance, they chose to do it in a way that enforces a different negative stereotype, and called it a sports anime nonetheless. Listen, I'm not the only one who realizes that if you took out a majority of those crappily animated skating scenes in the middle and skipping right around to the important parts, which was, let's face it, mostly the budding and progressed, officiated romance between Yuri and Victor, no one would have known the difference. The big progressive message we see here could have literally been fit into any other situation. This anime makes no strides to interest people in figure skating, and if you happen to be a person who couldn't have cared less about skating but then decided to look more into it because of this show, congrats, you're part of a minority. Yuri on Ice is not being remembered as that sports anime about figure skating. It's going down in history as that progressive gay anime that, oh yeah, has some skating in it too. Some people might say, but it is about skating. Oh yeah, then why does anybody actually participate in this tournament? Why does anyone actually skate in this show? They're competitive, they train, they look good doing it, but why? What's their motivation? Where's the contrast between the individual motivations? The show starts out in the middle of these characters' careers, rather than the usual high school level varsity team, and that's different, and different is good, right? Yeah, but at least when you see how someone starts out their career, as in the case with most other sports anime, you get a bit of a story as to why they do it. Here's what we know. Yuri saw Victor skating when he was younger, so he decided to become a skater too. Why? Is that the motivation that carried him to the peak of his career before he started declining and comes back into the game with his passion again only after Victor starts training him personally? That doesn't work. At least not for me it doesn't. I mean, what kind of a motivation is that? And don't even get me started on anybody else. If we don't see exactly what it is that drives these guys to be so competitive and love their sport so much, how is it supposed to make anybody who doesn't care about it fall in love with it? Because it looks nice? And not even for the duration of the entire show? Is this show supposed to be not tropey? Did the writers actually even care about the sport? I should think not. I mean, it didn't even feature any major injuries. A practical staple of sports anime, a trope beyond tropes. It doesn't even happen. Well, it didn't need to happen. Well, they call this a drama, didn't they? Yuri gets blisters on his feet from his skates. Whoop-de-doo. There's a little bit about the skating world that's accurate, but that's the closest thing we get. It wasn't necessary for somebody to break their leg or twist their ankle. Of course it wasn't, because skating, and what it means to be a professional ice dancer, had barely anything to do with this damn show. And then, of course, the Crunchyroll Anime Awards happened and the storm just went out of control. I see a lot of people acknowledging the flaws of it maturely, but let's face it, this is an indignant mess being made by 12-year-olds on the internet. If you like the show, you're a yaoi-loving fujoshi, which, let's be honest, by the way, don't act like that's not where at least half of those votes came from. And if you don't like it, you're a homophobic bigot. which, congratulations, you haters, you have successfully succeeded in perpetualizing this because you don't have any reason for hating it besides the fact that it's gay. Most of you haters haven't even seen the show, let alone enough to know what actually makes it bad. I'm frustrated, guys. I haven't seen anyone else who cares that the show is labeled sports and ultimately failed on that front. They had to be so progressive, have so much shock value with the main couple being gay, that a potentially amazing sports anime was ruined because they couldn't tack a shonen ai label on it. Honestly, if it had first and foremost been called A Boy's Love, with maybe, figure skating in the description as well, I wouldn't have gotten my hopes up for this, neither would some of the other people, the community wouldn't have exploded the way it did, and this whole stupid fandom war over a stupid majority vote wouldn't have happened, at least not to the degree that it's happening now. Well, I think I've said what's on my mind. Guess what, guys? Male figure skating is gay, and that's just the truth about it. I mean, look at Yuri on Ice. However, it may be good as a drama, or have some other positive messages, but I'll be darned if anyone asks me if I know of a skating anime, and then tell them to watch Yuri on Ice. If you're still here and managed to listen to this whole long rambling rant about what a personal blow this show is to me, then thank you. I needed to get this off my chest and have some closure before I just moved on completely from 2016. I hate Yuri on Ice, and will not be recommending it to anybody. That's the gist of it. I'll go back to my other videos soon enough and a regularly scheduled JoJo feature every month very soon. For now, that's all, and if I haven't just triggered you into unsubscribing from my channel, then I sure hope I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!